If you're working with any kind of structured data in Python, JSON kind of feels like it's almost unavoidable. In this video, I'll show you how to load local JSON files, clean and modify the data, and save it back. Plus, we'll look at how to append the new data and add timestamps. I do also have a sample JSON file if you do want to follow along, link in the description. Otherwise, you can kind of take these learnings and apply it to your own JSON files and Python projects. If this sounds like something you're interested in, let's go ahead and dive on in. So let's start off by creating a new Python file in Visual Studio Code or your preferred development environment. I'm going to go ahead and save this in my Python folder, and I'm actually going to create another folder within here, and I'm just going to call this one JSON underscore example. And we'll save this as our JSON later. We'll save it in that folder. Also within this folder, I'm going to put in our .json. So we have our Python folder here and our products.json, or the JSON file that you'll be working with. All right, let's start off coding by first doing our imports. So we're going to be adding JSON. So this is going to import the built-in module to work with JSON data. Also, if your name is Jason and you're watching this video, I apologize. I'm probably going to say your name like a million times. We're also going to be using from date time and importing date, as we're going to be able to add some timestamps to our JSON file. And let's also go ahead and import OS to handle file paths safely across our operating systems. Okay, so let's first dynamically find the path to the JSON file based on where this script is saved. This will ensure that the script works no matter where it's run from. So we're going to add a base directory. So we'll call this one base underscore dir. And it's going to equal the os.path.dir name, so directory name. And when in the brackets, we're going to do os.path.abspath. And then we're going to do double underscore file double underscore. So this is essentially going to get to the directory containing the script. And then we'll add a JSON path. And this will equal the os.path.join. And then within the brackets, base underscore dir, so the one we just created, comma, and then we're going to put the name of the JSON file. So in my case, it was called products.json. You might even want to just, kind of paste that name in the string value. And this is going to build the path to the input JSON file. Next, we're going to load JSON with error handling to prevent crashes. I sometimes use a website for this, but we can do it in Python. Why not? Let's go ahead and add try : with open. And then we're going to look at our JSON underscore path, comma, and then within the brackets, we're going to do R. So R is essentially going to load in existing data. Then outside the brackets, we'll say as file, : then we'll reference our data. So this is going to equal the JSON dot load, and then we're going to pass through that file. This is going to read and parse the JSON into a Python list. And let's go ahead and handle those errors now. So we're going to use the except keyword here. And we're going to use the JSON decode error as E. Now, what we should probably do is make sure that our indentation is okay. So we're going to go back one, and then we'll go ahead and print. And we'll say failed to load JSON inside the string, comma, E. For the error, and then we're going to have the exit with the empty brackets. Let's do another except here. Make sure our indentation's okay. File not found error as E, and then we'll print file as a string. File not found E, and we'll also exit here as well. Oh, I just need to fix my indentation. There we go. Okay, now let's go ahead and filter data to remove products that are out of stock. So if we actually take a look at our JSON, I'm just going to drag it into Visual Studio Code here. We can see here that we have ID, name, price, category, stock. And these stocks have a number value. So in the case of the notebook with the ID of 2, the stock is 0. So maybe we're going to filter these and take out anything with no stock. Now keep in mind, this JSON only has 3 values. I've worked with JSONs that literally have hundreds upon thousands of values. And running these scripts literally takes like a second still. It's pretty great. So we're going to create a filtered. And we're going to have this equal. We're going to use our square brackets here. Item for item in data. Then we're going to say if item. And then we're going to look for the keyword stock, right? So anything here that has a stock value of, let's say, less than 0, we're going to then filter those items out. It's going to filter the data to remove products that are out of stock. Okay, cool. And let's go ahead and also modify each remaining item with a couple new fields. We're going to add a discounted flag for electronics, and we're also going to add a last updated date to show when the data was processed. So we'll say for item in filtered. So that value we just created right up here. We're going to add a colon, and we'll say item. And let's handle the discounted first. So we're going to add a string value of discounted, which will equal the item. And then we're going to look with our square brackets for the category. And now we're going to have this double equals, so exactly equals electronics. We can double check our spelling here, category electronics, perfectly. So this is going to return a true value if it's an electronics item. And then we'll also look for our last updated here. So let's say last underscore updated. And this will equal the date time dot now. So whatever time it is when you run this script, we're gonna have the empty brackets there. Then we're gonna do dot strf. And then within the brackets, this is how we're going to then format our date and time. So I'm going to add a string, and then I'll say %y dash %m dash %d. So this is going to add the current date in the year, month, day. Wonderful. We can do a few more things with our JSON. Let's go ahead and append a new product to the list as an example of adding a JSON array. So let's create a new item. So let's say new item equals, then we're going to add our squiggly braces here, and we're going to add all the different parameters. Now, what I would suggest doing to save some time is you can even go back and copy all the parameters of a previous JSON and paste them in, and then you can just change the values. So in case of the ID, let's call this one 4. Let's go ahead and maybe say this is a sticky note. We can then assign it a price. I don't think sticky notes are very expensive. I'll just make it $1.99. And I would probably put this under the stationery, probably, with a category. And let's go ahead and change the stock, maybe 500. And something that would be good to add, since we are adding the discounted and the last updated, we can even just include those fields now. So let's go ahead and say discounted. And let's set this to be false. I mean, it's not electronic after all. And make sure that you have commas after the values. But for the last one, so for our last underscore updated, we won't need to include a comma afterwards. And let's grab our date time now and just paste that on in here. Wonderful. And then we'll take our filtered and we'll use the dot append to add it to the array, and we'll add that new item. Cool. So we've done a lot of filtering, but we haven't really added this to our JSON yet. If we were to run the script, sure, right? But what if we want to preserve the previous JSON file? This might be good for archiving. So this avoids overwriting the original and keeps the structure clean. So let's create an updated path. And let's have this equal the OS path dot join. And then within the brackets, we're going to add the base directory that we created before. And then we're going to add a comma, and we're going to choose what we want the name of the JSON file to be. So I would just call this something like updated products.json. On the next line, we'll say with open updated path, comma, and then we're going to use the W keyword within the string. So this is going to open the file in write mode, or W, to overwrite or create a new JSON file. Outside the brackets, we'll say as file, colon, we'll say JSON.dump, and then within the brackets, we'll add a filtered, comma, file, and then we can also add an indent for readability. And we can say that that indent equals, we can give it a number. Let's go ahead and say 2. And then finally, we can also let the user know that it's been completed successfully. This isn't a GUI app. After all, it's just something we run in Visual Studio Code or a terminal. And let's go ahead and print that the cleaned data has been saved to, and then we'll just say updated underscore products dot JSON. Okay, let's go ahead and run our Python file, clean data saved to updated products JSON. Cool. So back in Finder, we can see we have our original products.json, and now we have the updated products. So let's go ahead and check this out. We have our wireless mouse, we have the LED desk lamp, and we have these sticky notes that we added, and we even have the last updated in our year, month, day format. Wonderful. So no matter how many JSON entries we have in here, say it was even 20,000, it would go through and update all of them, and we still have our original. So let's go over our code in chunks. So the first chunk, we have our imports, and then we're using a file called products.json that simulates a product inventory, and we're even handling our JSON gracefully. So if the file wasn't found, we couldn't load the JSON for some reason, it would validate it beforehand. Then we're filtering and cleaning the data. So any out of stock process, a common use for marketplaces or dashboards, or kind of just cutting them out. Then we're modifying the existing data. So we're adding two new fields, the discounted, which is going to be set to true for electronics, and the last updated, which is going to be at the current date that we processed and ran the script. So then we're appending a new entry or item. So this is going to be adding a new product to your data set. It matches the format and is instantly usable for your API or wherever else you're using this JSON program. Finally, we are then saving and cleaning the augmented list to a brand new file ready for use while preserving the old one for our records or reference. If you want to challenge yourself with this JSON, try adding a clearance flag for any product listed under $5. Let me know in the comments if you got it working. So if this helped you level up your data skills in Python, subscribe for more clean coding tutorials and real world workflows. Check the description for all the files. Dream big, code bigger, and we'll see you in the next one. And have a great day.